initially I was treated as a non-person, which felt very strange because, well, at the same time, they were writing to party members trying to raise money on the back of how Hester had treated me without mentioning me, which was a bit odd.
And when you say non-person, I mean, what do you mean by that?
Well, you'd feel that if somebody was threatening to have you shot, you would have felt that your party would have offered you more support, given you advice on safety and security, even kind of commiserated with you, and none of that happened.
And are you saying that the leader, Keir Starmer, treated you as a non-person?
As I recall, Keir Starmer treated me as a non-person, and I got more support from the leader of the SNP, Stephen Flynn, than I got from the leader of my own party. For the investigation to drag on for 8 months, when other people who've committed similar offences had their cases wound up in a couple of months, I thought that was quite strange.
So what do you think was going on?
I think that Keir Starmer wanted to finish his clear out of the left in the Parliamentary Labour Party. And by writing a very ill-advised letter, I gave them the opportunity to move against me. And I think what they were trying to do was to string out the investigation. So when a general election was around the corner, they could just move me out of the way as a Labour candidate because I wouldn't be in the Parliamentary Labour Party, and parachute.
No one in the country listening to this would likely disagree. It's clear that the plan was to purge everyone on the left, but they didn't anticipate the backlash that followed, especially after Diane Abbott's suspension. Those close to Keir Starmer seemed completely oblivious to what Diane Abbott represents, not just to the Labour left, but to black people and particularly black women in this country. The way she was treated revealed a shocking lack of awareness. They had no idea the backlash was coming, not even a clue. This is just another example of how out of touch Keir Starmer and his team are. Now, let's hear what Diane Abbott had to say about Starmer's government so far.
I'm a bit worried about the cutting of the winter fuel allowance. And one of the things that's difficult about it, I think particularly for newer colleagues, people don't vote Labour only for a few weeks later. People, the Labour Party take money off pensioners.
Do you fear being suspended again? Or
No. I mean, they took it away from me once. It's up to them if they want to do it again. No.
Diane Abbott's account of her treatment under Keir Starmer's leadership is a damning indictment of the Labour Party's trajectory and Starmer's approach to leadership. The way Abbott describes being treated as a non-person by her own party, despite facing serious threats and challenges, is not only shocking but emblematic of Starmer's cold and calculated political strategy. It is clear that, under his tenure, loyalty and basic decency have been cast aside in favor of ruthless political maneuvering and a blatant attempt to purge the party of its left-wing root. Starmer's alleged neglect in offering Abbott support after threats to her life, coupled with an 8-month investigation that conveniently dragged on, highlights a complete disregard for both human empathy and procedural fairness. The fact that Abbott, a senior and historically significant figure in the Labour Party, received more support from SNP leader Stephen Flynn than from her own party leader underscores the glaring lack of solidarity and respect within Labour's upper echelons under Starmer's leadership. This incident also lays bare Starmer's broader agenda, a calculated campaign to marginalize and eliminate the left within the Labour Party. Abbott's assertion that Starmer's team intentionally prolonged the investigation to remove her as a potential Labour candidate ahead of a general election is both plausible and deeply concerning. It reflects a leader more focused on consolidating his power and reshaping the party in his image than on fostering unity or standing by long-serving members. This level of manipulation, especially against one of the first black women elected to Parliament, raises serious questions about the values Labour claims to uphold under Starmer's watch. Moreover, Abbott's concerns about policies like the cutting of the winter fuel allowance reveal Labour's drift away from its traditional base. Pensioners and working-class voters, core Labour supporters, are being sidelined as Starmer prioritizes political expediency over the party's historical commitment to social justice. The idea that people vote Labour only to see the party take money from pensioners is not just a policy misstep. It is a betrayal of the very communities Labour claims to champion. Keir Starmer's leadership increasingly appears hollow, driven by peer optics and ruthless internal politics rather than a genuine vision for the country. His treatment of Diane Abbott highlights a lack of integrity, fairness, and empathy, qualities essential in any leader. By alienating key figures and betraying the principles upon which Labour was built, Starmer is not just reshaping the party, but eroding its identity and trust among its core supporters. Ultimately, Starmer's tenure is shaping up as a lesson in political opportunism and cynicism. His treatment of Diane Abbott, coupled with his policies that harm the most vulnerable, paints a picture of a leader who values control over compassion and power over principle. If this is the Labour Party's future under Starmer, it is little wonder that many lifelong supporters feel increasingly disillusioned and betrayed.
The Waspi women fought one of the most sustained and passionate campaigns for justice that I can remember, year in, year out. We did promise them that we would give them justice. I understand the issue about the cost, but does the Prime Minister really understand how let down Waspi women feel today?
I do understand the concern, of course I do. I set out the history, Mr. Speaker, but the research is clear that 90% of those impacted did know about the change. And in those circumstances, the taxpayer simply can't afford the burden of tens of billions of pounds of compensation. But I do understand.
Keir Starmer's dismissive response to the plight of Waspi women is yet another glaring example of his inability to genuinely connect with the struggles of ordinary people. These women fought tirelessly for justice, having been blindsided by sudden changes to their pensions with little warning or support. Starmer's platitudes and empty reassurances about understanding the concerns offer no solace to those who have been wrong. His reliance on technicalities and statistics, like the claim that 90 of those impacted did know about the change, is a weak and tone-deaf attempt to deflect responsibility and avoid taking meaningful action. What makes this even more disgraceful is that Starmer appears to value fiscal convenience over moral obligation. His justification that taxpayers simply can't afford compensation smacks of a leader more concerned with balancing spreadsheets than with addressing the deep injustice suffered by a generation of women who had their retirement security snatched away. This argument ignores the fact that many of these women have worked and contributed to the system their entire lives, only to be abandoned when it matters most. Starmer's refusal to advocate for a fair resolution is a betrayal of the very people Labour claims to represent. Moreover, his response is a masterclass in political vagueness. By claiming to understand the concerns while simultaneously shutting the door on compensation, Starmer reveals his knack for saying a lot while doing very little. It is this kind of weak, non-committal leadership that leaves voters disillusioned and questioning what Labour truly stands for under his direction. Starmer's approach is a far cry from the robust, principled advocacy that Labour was once known for. The Waspi women deserve justice, not hollow sympathy. Starmer's failure to take a strong stand on their behalf underscores his broader pattern of prioritizing political expediency over genuine leadership. His response reflects a party that has lost its moral compass, offering excuses instead of solutions. If this is the best Starmer can do in the face of such a clear and pressing injustice, then it's no wonder so many feel Labour has abandoned its core values under his leadership. For a man who claims to want to rebuild Britain, he seems all too willing to leave behind those who built it in the first place. Thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts or opinions, feel free to share them in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more updates, and join us on Telegram for exclusive content and discussions. Your support means a lot.